Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Future of BizTech. I am your host, JC Granger, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Matthew Veley, who is the CEO of CellTeks. Matthew, thank you so much for being on the show. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what kind of problems do you guys solve?
Thanks, JC. I'm Matthew Veley. I own a company called CellTeks. We are in San Antonio, Texas. We are a signal solutions company. We basically go in and make signal work where it normally doesn't. We work with Wi-Fi. We specialize in cellular. We work a little bit with Starlink, and right now I'm going through my current certification to be approved to engineer and approve designs for public safety systems or ERCs or ERCs, depending on how you want to pronounce it.
I'm curious about the Starlink side of it, right? Because that's kind of like the whole new buzz. What exactly, I guess, where do you guys come in on that, right? Because as most people understand it, satellite up here, my little dish thing down here. So where is that middle? Like, how are you working with that system?
Well, we're integrators. That's what we do. We specialize in designing and installing the systems and making sure that they're optimized to their max performance. So basically, you have a lot of anything from 60, 70-year-old ladies who order their Starlink out in the rural country. They don't want to climb on the roof. They don't want to get in the attic. They don't want to have to run the cable down to the first floor.
Yeah, I
So
thought
they
you could just
basically,
like put it on your desk. I thought it was that's the way they
no.
pitch it. It's like, oh, just put it right here, kind of thing. Like it's so easy.
There are different versions of it, but basically the most common residential version and the previous I don't know, 3 generations, 4 generations, you have to get up on that peak of that roof. You have to mount the actual dish on top of it, and then you have to run the cable down to wherever you want the
This
routing.
reminds me of the old dish TV installation stuff, right? You see the gray dish on the side of people's houses, some dude up on the roof trying to install it.
Yeah, a little bit, but these ones look a little more fancy. They have a more Apple Store vibe to them. They have that white vibe, and also I have to say it is an incredible piece of technology in the fact that it auto tracks. And so you'll actually install it, and then you'll watch it tune itself, do a little 360 rotation, kind of figure out where the satellites are that it's going to be making contact with, and then it'll actually track those satellites as they move through the sky. So it'll actually auto adjust on its own once you get the installation done. It's pretty self-sufficient. But yeah, no, a lot of people just do not want to climb on that roof, go through that attic in 100-degree temperatures, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, not a great like I'll leave that to someone with a really nice ladder and a whole lot of padding on the ground, right? Because I'm not messing with that. Absolutely not. I'm a podcast man. I'm on the computer. Like have someone else go do that.
Oh yeah, I find myself in the nice little hybrid of both being a technology geek, but also kind of not being afraid to go and sweat and walk through an attic and go do an obstacle course at 100 degrees.
Matthew, that's what the
It,
spiders are. The spiders are in the attic, Matthew. God damn
and
it.
snakes and raccoons.
And snakes, yeah, I bet you got stories. I bet you got stories. Little
Oh, you have
little
no idea
critters
what
up
we've
there.
seen.
Uh-huh.
Oh, the surprises that you will find.
Yeah. What was side note? They just had this. There's this meme video of this raccoon that the cops pulled. Remember that pull over this lady in a car and this
Meth
raccoon
pipe.
has a meth pipe. And the only thing funnier than the fact that they found this raccoon with a meth pipe was that when they took it from him, he grabbed another one. And you're like, "Where did you get 2 meth pipes? He's a raccoon." That's all
He
I
was
could think
like the cop was
about.
having a good time with it. I thought it was hilarious. But yeah, they've
Oh
been doing
man.
those animated shorts. But the lady tried to grab back, and he was like, "No, no, no, that's evidence now."
He's like, no, no, no. All right. Yeah.
Uh,
See, I like sidetracking sometimes, but
oh
it's
yeah,
it's hard not to. It's hard not to. Um,
internet culture. You gotta love it.
who do you find are the types of companies that need you guys the most? Like, what arenas do you play in for the most part with this?
Well, that's the fun thing is we're in every major vertical. But what kind of gave Celtex a leg up on all the competition on the rest of the United States was that we're based in Texas. And Texans love Texas. I know that. But what really kind of gave us is we have this booming oil and gas industry. And so you have all these oil fields on the Permian Basin, whatever, and they had remote locations that didn't have cell towers. They had an industry that generated billions of dollars a year, so they had the money, and they would call us out and get us to get signal out in these remote locations. Well, in the early part of the technology, the whole economy of scale was not there. Like, it's early technology. To integrate, it's expensive because you have to be okay with making mistakes and learning from it. And so it was all just kind of the wild, wild west of like figuring out the signal and these RF amplifiers and integrating them. And we had basically 2 decades ahead of everybody else because of oil and gas, because it was one of the few
Mm.
industries that could afford it and had a need for it. But now we're in military, healthcare, education, financial, uh, hospitality. I mean, every major vertical, anywhere you need to make a call or you cannot have, you need to be able to communicate effectively, not just a little bit of time, but 100% of the time, and you can't afford to step out. That's where we are.
Okay. Is it mostly in rural areas because that's the issue, or are you finding that the different services you're coming across that now you're able to go into more urban areas?
It's everywhere. We're in rural, we're in urban. We've done stuff in downtown. We did I think our probably our most difficult project was a high rise in downtown Dallas where we were doing floors 29 through 34 of a high rise.
Yeah, see, I think
And
people don't realize it. They don't realize that the higher you go, the harder it gets also, right?
yeah, well, yeah, because they don't design the systems. They don't just they all the people, 99.9% of the people using cell phones are on the ground. So they angle all the
Yeah.
sectors towards the ground.
Yeah.
Or if the first 3 stories or 4 stories. Honestly, after about 10 stories is where you really start to kind of get difficulties. So
Okay.
and another thing that's kind of counterintuitive. You'd think that in an urban environment, it's easier to boost signal because there's so many more sectors. It's actually easier to boost in a rural environment than it is an urban environment because it's almost too much signal. It's too
Yeah,
much
there's less
noise.
interference
Exactly.
bumping around too, right? Um, so let's take a quick step back here. So you're the CEO of CellTeks, but you told me in pre-show that you're not the founder though. So what brought you? Did you acquire it? Did you work your way up and the owner's like, man, I want to retire and go live on a beach? Like, what got you to be the CEO of CellTeks?
So actually, that was part of my dad was retiring at that moment, and I had just kind of stepped down. And we had talked in the previous show. I'd worked service industry for probably about 8 years, and I told myself that I was not going to be 30 and working in the bar. And so I uh, I had saved some money. I had some money put aside. My dad had just retired from Delta Airlines, and he was looking at places, and he came across Celtex, and he was like, "Hey, this is more kind of seems like your speed. You should check this out." Because I've always been a tech geek and loved working with it, and so I kind of looked at the industry. Hadn't really had a lot of experience in RF boosters or anything else of that nature. Didn't really have a lot of experience in RF theory, but I looked at it. I saw what the technology was. I saw where the technology is heading, and it's just it was too promising to pass up. It was just like this diamond in a rough, and what I love about my industry is that everything's new. It's not like an auto shop where you'd have to compete with 20 other auto shops and distinguish yourself. We are literally me and the competition are finding out how to advertise and do everything as we go along.
Just
And so,
build the plane in the air, right?
exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's a good
Yeah.
analogy. It's just it's an exciting thing, and so it's more of trying to invent the wheel and build the wheel as you're trying to have the car roll, like you said. So, or plane fly.
So let's talk about that a little bit then. So what is it that you think makes it hard to scale in what you do, right? Because I mean, you did say you can pretty much you have so many verticals you can hit. So you don't have a TAM issue. You don't have a total addressable market issue. So what is it that just makes it hard to penetrate and really go from here to here that you've been dealing with?
Education, because a lot of people just don't know what I do even exists. They don't
Mm,
know that the solution is actually there. They kind of just, that is probably my biggest thing is everyone is kind of stuck in the old ways of solving problems. And I have to come in and basically where I get most of my clients is I just say, get my foot in the door and just give me the opportunity, give me the time of day. Let me show you what I can do. And we'll go do demonstrations where we'll leave a unit and we basically show them what they were going without. Like, hey,
mhm.
you give 2 weeks worth of solid signal inside of a facility and say, hey, all right, we're coming here to take it out now. All of a sudden that manager, that security officer or whatever is like, no, 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 no. I really got used to this now. And so that's honestly where we get is just to because we have to only not only educate them that the technology exists, but then we have to say, hey, don't take our word for it.
Mhm.
Of course, anybody in sales is going to say, "Hey, I'll solve your problem." Hey, you got money? Let me come in and give me that money, and I'll give you this solution. And so, just and what we sell is not cheap. It's not like entry level, like a couple $100. It goes to thousands to tens of thousands, sometimes 100+ thousands of dollars. And so to take my word for it and then to sign that check, I understand as a business owner not being okay with that or feeling not at ease. And so we always that's our probably our biggest hurdle is to educate and then put their mind at ease about our actual solution.
You could always do that like mob version, right? Where it's like, boy, you just cut the wires to all their current stuff. So it'd be a real shame if all of your internet and cell went out. And now it's like, hey, you could hire us for security to make sure that doesn't happen again. Well, have you considered the mob angle? Have you considered extortion? I guess is what I'm asking. Have you?
Racketeering,
Yeah,
extortion. No,
great margins.
tire shop and dumping nails out in the road right next to the your thing. No, we don't necessarily do that because again, we don't have to. There are so many real problems. Like we
Yeah.
don't have to
You don't have to
manufacture
invent
problems.
them. You don't have to
Yeah,
invent them. Yeah.
it's like it's just one of those things that you wish. I almost wish. Kind of not really, because I make my living off of it. But I wish that was an issue to where we would have to manufacture. But there, again, your phone works or it doesn't. That's what I absolutely love about my industry and what I do is I can tell you and promise you everything under the sun. It's like electricity. It either works or it doesn't. Your lights
Yeah.
either turn on or they don't. You can either make a phone call or you can't. Like there is no like you can tell pretty quick whether I'm selling you a line. Like they can just like I said, it is the proof is right in front of you. And so
Mhm.
seeing is believing, and that's trust me, that's again, you don't have to wait. It's immediate gratification with my business.
The first thing I do anytime I was ever checking out like a new apartment or a home to buy or an office to rent, the first thing I do when I get on location is pull my phone and see what my cell signal is, right? Because I'm like, I'm gonna have to make calls. Like I'm on the phone a lot, right, with my business, and I have to be able to do that. And so I can see where, people may not think about it when they're already in it. Let's say you just go to your job kind of thing. But it sounds like also like even like real estate and commercial are big areas too for you guys. I mean, you can be in everything, right? Like you said.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
every bench
it, it,
vertical.
yeah.
Anybody who needs to make a call.
So how are things now? Are things good? You guys
Oh,
growing?
things are actually picking up. I have to say, it's been a journey because I took over in 2017 and things were going very well for the first couple of years. Everything was on its way up. We were switching over, and then COVID happened.
Mm,
And like every business owner and everything else, it affected. I mean, it turned everything on its head.
mhm.
And so we had to completely dial back what we were gearing all of our commercial enterprise to back to residential because everyone was going to work from home. And it has just been, going through those types of problems. It was like 3-4 years of just oil and gas got hit, major commercial got hit. Most of our clients, we had I think something like $3 million+ in bids out, and I think we closed 100,000. Like,
Oh, everything just
and
shut down.
like it was just such an upset, and to work through that was pretty difficult. Now things have kind of starting to pick back up again. The people are moving back into Class A, Class B commercial. They're hosting big public events again. Expos are back. So I mean, that is where I really make my money. Honestly, is on the larger scale, and it's a lot easier to deal with 3 clients a month than 90.
Sure.
Collecting, doing
Yeah.
everything else, and so all those small homes and everything else they were I'm very grateful to them. They sustained me through a very difficult time. But yeah, it was just like I said, that was it was a huge just turn overnight, and now we're just seeing that kind of come swing back the other direction and really starting to kind of pick back up.
Well, so let's talk about that then. I guess that's a good segue into my marketing question because I'm a marketing guy by trade. So now that things are picking up and I mean, there's more, back to office, push with businesses. So I mean, everything is going to be kind of it's heading in that good direction for you guys anyway.
Yeah.
What, how are you getting the word out there about you guys? Man, you're on a podcast, great. Check PR. Okay. What else are you doing so people even know about you? And also, furthermore, because you mentioned this earlier, educating the market, because you said that was a big issue too. So what are you doing for both of those things?
So we are going to events. We sponsor different events, whether it be for education or anything else like that, and we will, host basically on-site webinars and everything else like that, where we'll go through the slide decks and show them everything with technology. We have great relationships with the manufacturers. So I think the last one we even had like the head engineer of the company Nextivity. He was on our guest speaker and was able to answer some of the questions. A lot of this, probably 90% of where I get business is return business and word of mouth. Because you work in one oil patch or whatever, then all of a sudden you have their petroleum engineer, talking to the another petroleum engineer across the road, and it's like, oh yeah, we fixed our problem. And then so we'll do 3 or 4 sites in that area. Billboards down here, we started doing billboards down in South Texas just because it is such a vital industry line, the 35 between San Antonio and Laredo. Mexico's our largest trading partner. So, I mean, when we were driving down to Laredo, just a job about a month ago, you just saw 18 wheelers, oil and gas, ranches, which is all of our like target clientele. That's where we cut our teeth, was in South Texas. So we have stuff out there. We don't have a lot of competition south of us. As you go towards north, you have Austin, which is a huge tech city. So of course they have a bunch of people in there. Dallas, you have a bunch of enterprise people in Houston. So we mostly South Texas is our region, but we do travel all over. But yeah, from marketing's perspective, excuse me, it's mostly word of mouth for billboards. We've kind of dialed back on Google AdWords. I haven't
Hmm.
seen a really good return on that. Um, but yeah, that's mostly how we get our marketing done. That and donations.
Yeah. Where do you uh where do you see the technology going? Like this is the fun part of the podcast because we talked a little bit about Starlink and how that's just incredible technology itself. Where do you see the different pieces of what you put together to help people in a year, 2 years, maybe five, whatever you want to pick? Is there anything coming down the road that you're super excited about or that's just crazy interesting to you?
Oh, you so much. Like you have like this is going to be hard to keep it down in a pretty time efficient manner. But Starlink is basically, just a highlight. Starlink is making their satellites basically into space cell towers eventually. So
Mm,
they're actually going to be beaming that down. You are seeing and that's going to be happening probably in the next 5 to 10 years. You're going to see the Starlink go from just data to full blown cell towers in space. You have augmented reality, which we involves private 5G cell sectors in which you can provide high amounts of data, and you can do augmented reality with any industry. Whether it be in warehouses, you can have glasses that tell you inventory numbers, when they were checked in, when something came in, when anything and everything, like oil and gas. You can have walk through and see pressures and everything out, PSI, and all these different different pipings. And it's going to make things much more efficient. It's going to feed into AI, which is, don't even get me started on how that is going to just potentially increase the efficiency of any motivated individual by almost 1,000%. It The industry is really advancing at such a rapid rate where 5G is not just cell phones anymore. It's going to be the foundation of smart cities, eventually smart states, to where everything is just interconnected, and it's really exciting. I'm honestly where it's heading. Like I said, I get very geek out about this stuff because I truly am passionate about the technology, where it's heading, and the possibilities that's going to truly open up for so many industries, and the quality of life improvements it's going to bring potentially to every human. I mean, of course,
yeah.
with any advancement, it can go one of two ways. We always
Yeah.
hope that it goes the good way. But I mean, like I said, for me, I'm kind of an optimist, and I'm really looking at the good that can happen from all this technology, and it is exciting, and it's heading in a very rapid rate, in a an advancement. So yeah, I'll stop there. But yeah, that's the overhead of it.
Well, let me, you brought up 5G, which is, I'm so glad I have you on because there's this question that I've had that I haven't talked to anyone in years that could actually answer, and I think you might be the guy. So when 5G was, when they first started talking about how 5G technology, 5G is a name for a type of technology, bandwidth, things like that. At some point, somebody, and I don't know if it was in Verizon or AT&T, somebody in the marketing department figured out that the term 5G is not copyrighted. And so what they did, because I knew that it was impossible for them to have launched 5G actual service in from the time that it became a thing to when they started marketing. I said that's not even possible. And I realized, oh, they just realized that they can just call it that
Mhm.
even if it's not that. So here's my question. One is, who the hell was that who did that first? And then like, because again, my phone says 5G, and I use Xfinity, which is a subcategory of Verizon towers, right? So, do we even have actual 5G, like the actual technology? Is that even on our cell phones yet, or have we all just been lied to from the marketing departments?
All right, so you got most of it right. They were early victims of victims of their early marketing success. The whole selling phones that were forward compatible, like the whole
Yeah, compatible. That's just the hardware. That doesn't
yeah
mean the damn.
yeah
That doesn't mean it's
well, they've been
doing
selling
it.
they've been selling 5G phones for a decade,
That's
and
my
the
point.
fact is 5G is on its rise to maturity. It is, and but they were so successful in their marketing that they just couldn't roll it out fast enough. And so what they did was they just took a lot of the same sectors that were 4G, renamed them to 5G.
Yeah,
And
it
I
just,
mean
it just. I
that's
was like, that's not
honestly what
even
happened.
possible.
Yeah,
It's not even. I
literally
knew it.
no difference, no
I knew
difference.
it.
Uh, but let me preface this. There is true 5G out there. Most of them, what you can see, they look like a giant can of beans. Like it is a giant cylinder. And it's usually silver, and it will give you gigabit speeds off of off air. Like 1,000 plus down megabits per second, and they just have to they don't travel as long. So I don't know if you know this,
Right.
but 5G stands for fifth generation. 4G is fourth
Yeah.
generation, blah, blah, blah. So this is the fifth generation of telecommunications technology. With each generation, the capabilities go up, but inversely, the distance it can travel and the ability to penetrate
Yeah.
objects like walls, trees, everything else goes down. So 4G, ideally, you could go 3 miles, 2 to 3 miles, maybe even 5 miles, and get a nice mixture of both voice and data, have some ability to run some advanced apps, stuff of that nature, GPS. And then on 5G, you're talking about, like I said, augmented reality, everything else. But instead of 2 to 5 miles, you're looking at ideally within 1,000 feet, like which
Yeah,
is
see, that's just it seems so cost prohibitive. But this is why I called bullshit when they said we've got 5G. No, you don't, because it's like AM versus FM bandwidth, right? It's like AM is lower quality, but it's farther reach. FM
yes.
is going to give you better quality, but it's a shorter distance. And I was like, no, every single time they upgrade this, it's going to shrink the ability, the area that it can service, which means you have to see more of these towers or things like that being put up. And I'm like, there's no way they did that in 3 months. Like, I
It,
call bullshit here.
It is, yeah, no, you are absolutely right on that aspect. But for me, I always look at it for the advancement of technology. You have to reach economy of scale. And yeah, if you looked at the early, like, I guess, early planes versus maritime industry, you're like, look at all this
Yeah.
fuel it's wasting and all these parts are so expensive. We already know how to build boats. We have 10,000 boats,
Yeah.
whatever. But I
Yeah.
mean, you can't get stuff from Europe to America in 12 hours on a boat, or 16 hours on a boat. And so what the possibilities of what 5G can do, like, and open up versus for our future versus what the 4G is just so much more. And so you always
Yeah.
have to look at that, and with anything you have to reach economy of scale. You're
When do
going
you
with
think
any
it's going
high
to hit
tech.
that? When do you think it's going to hit that critical mass? Like when is 5G actually going to be something that we're all using from our phones and it's like, holy crap, this is amazing. Even though my cell signal tells me 5G plus, which is complete bullshit. So when is this actually going to happen roughly when we hit critical mass?
All right, well, if you're in a major metropolitan, more than likely you're already there. So
Okay.
if you're in Dallas, if you're in Austin, whatever, you're more than likely, especially the downtown areas, you are more than likely actually receiving true 5G. Now, if
Okay.
you're talking about the grandmother in the hill country, who's sitting there and she's saying she got 5G, you're probably talking about 10 years, 5, 10 years. And honestly,
Oh,
I don't see them
ouch.
really getting rid of,
They're
I
better
think.
off doing Starlink. They're waiting for that, right?
Exactly. I
For the cell
I
phone. Yeah.
I think it's almost going to skip. Like they're going to keep it 4G and then just skip to whatever's
Mhm.
next because, like I said, the distance that travels, the penetration
Yeah.
power, I cannot see it being an economically viable for the large companies, the large communication companies.
So let's talk about then your future, right? So we talked a lot about the technology. Where what are your plans for the next 12 months, let's say, for CellTeks? Are you trying to expand into other regions? Or do you want to bring on new offerings and technology? Is it a revenue growth goal? Like, what are your goals over the next year?
Well, right now, like I said, we have a lot of the industry is kind of growing in a lot of different directions. So right now, my what I'm currently working on is, like I said, that public safety certification, which is the GROL. It's a general radio operator's license.
Mhm.
That is going to be required for any building over like 50,000 square feet. It basically ensures to where first responders can accurately communicate with radios through 99% of the building. They did that after 9/11, after firefighters ran into a building, and then all of a sudden, after 5 partitions, their radios didn't work. And so
Oh, wow.
they were doubling over and tripping over their own feet by doubling back and rescuing their own people because they lost contact with them. Ever since then, they have made a national mandate to put these public safety systems into any new building or any building over 50,000 square feet that makes some serious renovation. Where I see the industry kind of going is everything kind of becoming one. So right now you have your cell boosting system, which just a brief side note, they now have like gunshot detection, vape
Mhm.
detection, like effective like things, all that on top of boosting your cell phone, they can give you real-time data of caliber, distance, direction, time, of any gunshot that goes on to help first responders. So you're going to see like the cell phone and the ERCs or public safety system, they'll probably become one because they're so close in technology. You are going to see again augmented reality becoming a huge part of the industry. It's going to take probably about 5 years to reach again economy of scale to where it's more affordable to mid-sized businesses.
Mhm.
But you're going to see that become a larger part of data feeding and getting those into buildings with 5G. Like I said, and I talked about poorer penetration power, the need for boosters like RF boosters is going to probably skyrocket probably for about 5 years until again that Starlink kind of reaches maturity. And even then you're going to have probably technology that augments and spreads it out through the building. But that is kind of how I see the immediate future. Like right now, we're working a lot in South Texas. We have one major enterprise client right now that we have projects. We just actually got approval today for a job in Lebanon, Tennessee.
Okay.
So we're going to be traveling out there. Then we're going to be doing a job in Franklin, Saratoga Springs, Chino. So I mean, again, we based in Texas, but we do travel quite a
You got a
bit.
pretty good size region, though. It sounds
United
like.
States is basically where we've gone both east and west coast. We've gone to Maine. We've gone to California. So,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and we're based in Texas.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I guess if you're one of the few handful of companies that could even install something of this nature, then yeah, I mean, it kind of puts you in a good position where you can grab that business from other places that might normally be outside of your range, so to speak.
yeah, it's just our experience. Again, like I talked about in the oil and gas, you have now companies like mine are popping up a dime a dozen. Like you are having the whole flourishing of RF companies because people are
Yeah.
learning about the technology. You have people trying to get into the integrators, but like most people just don't have the level of experience, and it's one of those things that I mean I'm sure you've worked in technology so you understand, but you can read every book, you can take a certification exam, and I almost guarantee within a month of your career of you doing whatever you're doing, you're going to
Already
encounter a
outdated.
problem that wasn't covered in any of it. It is
Yeah.
unique to that set of variables, and you are going to have to think on the fly and solve that problem. We've been in operation since 92. We've been integrating since 2008. So, I mean, we've been almost 2 decades of trial and error and fixing all these unique issues. So that's what gives us the leg up. You have all these companies who've been doing it a year or two. Who are you going to trust? A year or two or 2 decades, of experience? You
Sure.
want the surgeon fresh out of college, or do you want the guy who's world renowned and then top of his field?
Yeah. Yeah, if you got a surgical problem, right? You want the specialist, not the general practitioner, so to speak, right?
Exactly.
So, I guess to wrap up here, what's one of the best pieces of advice that you've ever been given from either maybe like a mentor, family member, colleague, maybe the previous, owner, whatnot, that you could impart on the audience, right? A lot of tech people listening, executives. What do you think the most important thing is? Other than, and by the way, you're not allowed to say to just stick with it and never give up. That's the only one you're not allowed to do.
Yeah,
Ever.
that is a little cliche. I'll give
Uh-huh.
you that one.
Hmm.
No, I will say that if you're a new business owner and the first time, just know that the first 6 months is like drinking from a fire hose. You are going to be overwhelmed. There is so much that's going on and so much that you have to learn. My recommendation, especially if you do like what I did, and I came in over and bought a business, take that first 6 months, don't make any major changes, learn the business, learn the company, learn how everything operates. Don't be a bull in a china shop.
Mm.
So that would be that was given to me by my dad when I first took over the company, and it was really good advice. Now, my personal advice from what I've done in the last 7 years is you will be betrayed. You will be stabbed in the back by both people who work for you and or you think are your partners as far as in the industry. Don't the best advice I can give you in 7 years is take that lesson to heart, but keep it internal. Don't
Mhm.
and as far as being professional in the industry, you may want to talk about how this person wronged you or how they're not a good person. Honestly, generally, it just looks bad on you, even if they are a truly bad person. So take that lesson to heart. Don't forget it, but keep it inside. Like don't throw mud in your professional industry or in your professional circle. That would
That's really
be
good advice.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be my number
And
one.
you're not wrong, by the way. You've been in business long enough. It's just a matter of time, right? And it's kind of like at this point, I always say I kind of bake it into the equation. It's kind of like big retail chains. They already know how much theft is going to happen. It's not that they want it, and they're still going to do what they can to prevent it, but it's literally a line item on a spreadsheet somewhere to just because they're realists about it. They understand like, hey, this is going to happen. We just need to make sure that we are running our systems and processes to include this and as part of the nature of what we do, right? And so as much as being a business owner, you wish everything was rainbows and unicorns and that everybody would be loyal and grateful all the time, and not screw you over. I don't know anyone who's been in business more than 10 years who hasn't either seen it, had it happen once at least. Right. But you're right. Don't, it's a bad look when all you're doing is complaining about it. It's like, don't be a victim. It's like learn from it,
Exactly.
figure out how to plug that hole and don't let it happen twice. See me, like I don't make the same mistake twice. I make new mistakes. I'm so good at new mistakes. There's a wealth of new mistakes out there for me to make. But I'll never make the same one twice. That's my gift on that one.
Yeah, we have a saying in my company. I basically say that because I was like, we're all human. Well, I'm fine with mistakes. I'm not fine with the same mistake twice. That
Exactly.
is actually a common saying in my company. And
Good.
like I was like, you have to find new and exciting ways to screw up. I don't want to see the same one twice.
There we go. New and exciting ways to screw up. I like that. Well, that's how I think that's how we'll end. New and exciting ways to screw up. Brought to you by CellTeks. Well, listen, for everybody listening right now, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Future of BizTech. Hey, if you liked what you heard, if you like Matthew, if you like me, you don't have to like me, it's fine. 5-star rating, right? Comment, like, share, because that is how tech nerds like us find cool podcasts like this. Matthew, thank you so much again for being on the show, and we'll talk here soon.
Appreciate it, JC. Thank you so much.